The best way to get your saw working safely and make the job easier is to keep it tuned up, of course, and to keep it sharp. And I like to sharpen mine on a slightly different angle than some, but when you buy these things nowadays, they have basically safety chains on them. And what that means is that the teeth and these little rakers here, let me bring you in closer so you can see what I mean. Okay, so these are the chippers, the teeth that cut, and in between them are these little posts basically. And what that does is it doesn't let the bite of the tooth get too deep. And the whole idea of that is so that it doesn't grab too hard and kick back at you, which can be pretty dangerous. If you haven't done a lot of chainsaw work, that's a good thing to have. And the companies do that because nowadays everybody's after somebody else on liability problems, and we've all heard it. So they sacrifice the function of the saw because of the concerns of liability issues, which kind of defeats the purpose of having a chainsaw. One more thing about sharpening your own saw, and this isn't something that is probably the best thing for a novice to do, but if I tip this just a little bit, you can see that the teeth are cut on an angle and they oppose each other. Each tooth goes a different direction. If you don't sharpen, and the same with these pieces, you have to be very consistent. That's one of the biggest things. If you don't sharpen these teeth that are on sort of the left side, so to speak, exactly the same as you do the teeth on the right side, in other words, keep them exactly even, take 5 strokes with the file or whatever it is, and keep the angles consistent, because if you don't, it'll cut harder or faster on one side than it will on the other, and your saw will start to go down through your wood, and it'll start to curve, and you won't be able to get a straight cut. It'll actually turn the blade and cut you a sort of a semicircle. So consistency and equal sharpening is key to keeping a saw working properly and safely. when these logs are stacked tight like this, a lot of times, I mean, you could pick one and roll it out and cut it, pick another one and roll it down and cut it. It's sometimes easier just to cut 3 or 4 at a time, whatever's in the kind of the scoop sort of thing. You got cut right across there. I just cut these 4 in a minute or whatever it was. And when I get some that are kind of tangled up or they're kind of cattywampus a little bit, then you just got to take a pick and haul them out of the way so you can get them out straight and cut them. But this saves time to a point. Now I'm looking at this one right here, this piece of birch. I'm going to bring you around here because the whole end of it's all spalted. What that means is that it's the beginning of deterioration. But what it does, let me zoom in here a little bit. There, let me zoom in here. See how it's got that webbing of color and so on in it? That's still pretty solid stuff. And I'm going to take a couple of chunks of that. It's almost like a burl. And you could cut that and make a bowl out of it or something. And it's going to look pretty cool. So I'm going to look how far in that goes. I'm probably going to cut, well, there's already a mark here where I started to cut through as I was going through another log. So there's about 8 inches. So I'm going to take that 8 inches. And then if it's still spalted inside, I might take a bit more. Come on, let go. Come on, baby. Oh, this has got knots all over it. That's going to be a beast. Oh, let's give it a good one, see what happens. Well, it's half rotten. Knock the side off of it. See if we can get it to go down between the knots, maybe. That'll help. Oh, there's knots in it everywhere. Come on. Ooh, look at that. Wet. That's going to be hard to... Here, let's see if we can take an edge on that. There we go, that's better. So that's split completely across. Let's just see if we can open that up a bit. There we go. Now, one more, at least. Okay. One more. Well, that's a bit big, but it's a big stove, so we're okay. punky. That's got a lot of that spalting on the top there. Makes it kind of punky. Sometimes that makes it hard to split because it's just so soft it doesn't get the crack, sort of. Like that. Come on, let go. Come on. Whew. All right. See if I can get it closer to the edge a bit. Start taking a corner off. Like that. Now, that's already busted right through, like that. That's a bit big, but that's okay. We'll leave it like that. We'll just take this one in half, more or less. More or less. Come on. Note to self, cut down smaller trees. Oh, come on, baby. Not that much of a corner. Whew. This one doesn't want to give up. Sometimes you got to get a wedge in. I'm not worried about working this too hard because this handle is pretty beat. Pretty beat. See if we can get a cross angle and make any difference. There we go. That did it. That's busted it all the way down. All you got to do is get a side or a corner off it. Then you're okay. Like that. Once this piece is out, as long as it's round, it's holding itself together. Once you get one piece out like this, you've broken that arch, that support, and then you got it. It's at your mercy. Oh yeah, baby. And that's how that goes. So this is just a bit of how I spend my days. If it's not this, I'll be working in the gardens. I think this video is going to be long enough probably, but I want to make a video also of starting a new compost pile. The new garden at the cabin, the compost pile that I'm going to build to go with it, and not really a greenhouse, but hoop houses kind of a thing, little enclosures to just keep that last bit of cold air off of it. And you know, as it goes now, we're getting temperatures in the 80s and even in the 90s during the day sometimes, but it's down in the high 60s at night, and a couple nights ago it went down to the high 40s. So it's still not the most stable time of the year. Anyway, I want to thank you for watching. Hope you got something out of it, a little bit of enjoyment maybe, if nothing else. Watch me work up a sweat. Everybody have a great week. Stay safe. We'll see you all down the trail.